Man, these are good. You know, I'll tell you, if somebody wanted to lure me somewhere, all they would have to do is leave a trail of these on the ground, and I follow it. Hey, namaskar, everyone. How are you? Hopefully everybody's been doing fantastic. Listen, if you're new to the channel, thanks for stopping by and checking it out. I hope you're going to stick around. If you're already a subscriber, thank you and welcome back. As always, welcome back means we are on another adventure. Another adventure means you're going to want to know where we are and what we're doing. So let's start with where we are. We are in the city of U, the Yo, Y-Town, whatever your nickname is for it. We are in Youngstown, Ohio. And what are we doing in this grand city, this grand historic city of Youngstown? Well, I've said it in the past and I'll continue to say it. If you want to know the history of any city or the history of the people of that city, you need to visit a local cemetery. Youngstown is no different. If you visit any of the local cemeteries in Youngstown, you're going to find the founders. You're going to find the people that built the city. You're going to find the rich. You're going to find the elite. You're most definitely going to find the good people and the bad people that were significant to the city's history. But Youngstown has another person that made an impact not only on the city of Youngstown, but on the world. He made the world laugh. He made the world cry. Made the world wonder. Maybe even made the world believe. And no one probably even knows his name. His real name anyway. And that name would be Michael Patrick Bylan. And that is what our adventure is going to be today. We are going to visit the gravesite of Michael Patrick Bylan, and we are going to find out exactly who he was and what kind of impact he left on the world. So if you are ready for today's adventure, what I want you to do is I want you to get off the couch. I want you to get ready, and let's go. We are right here. Right here. That is fantastic. Oh, shoot. Look at all of them. I think they're ready to kick my ass. Harden saliva. You're okay. You're okay for watching my channel.
Jesus, God, Mamma Mia, look what we got.
Shh. I said there's people still sleeping. Calm down. We're gonna go. We're gonna go. I told you she was afraid of bridges.
Do not. Stop it now.
That is the starting point of the trail. I guess. I don't know. You can start at the beginning or you can start at the end. I don't think it matters where you start at. But wherever you start, that's your starting point. Oh, shit. That's why I tell you, if anybody's looking for an HJ, this is the spot. Take a sip. History. Better Malanga. So we know we're going to visit the gravesite of Michael Patrick Bylan. But who was he? Well, let's talk a little bit about him. Now, at the beginning of the video, I mentioned that he made a big impact on the world. Now, what makes that a little bit more intriguing is that he only stood 2 foot 10 inches tall. Now, while we talk and we get to learn more about him, just keep in mind that he never thought that his size was any kind of disability. He was just a proud person from Youngstown, just like most people from Youngstown are. Now, he was born in 1947, and he grew up right here on the west side of Youngstown, actually just up the way there, which I find pretty cool because I grew up on Bouquet Avenue. And his family, his parents, Michael and Esther, they lived over on South Osborne, which I think was 3 or 4 streets over from Bouquet. You could always tell what street Bouquet was because it was the street directly across from Walter's Golden Crust Bakery. But yeah, South Osborne was, I want to say 3 streets. It could be 4 though, but that's where he grew up at. Again, born in 1947, grew up on the west side of Youngstown, South Osborne. His parents were Michael and Esther. He graduated from Ursuline High School, which is a Catholic school here in Youngstown. And he even furthered his education and graduated from YSU, which is Youngstown State University. He graduated and he degreed in speech and drama. Now, in his lifetime, he had some pretty neat, very cool jobs, very interesting jobs throughout his life. He was a Sunday school teacher for a little while. He was really into his church. He was an elementary school basketball coach. He was very proud of his heritage. So at one point in time, he had he was a host of it was a Ukrainian talk show. I think that Ukrainian Hour. And that was based out of Struthers, Ohio. And Struthers, Ohio is just, it's just another city that borders Youngstown. Another job he had, which this one's quite interesting. He was a dispatcher for the Mahoning County Sheriff Department, the YPD. Now, what the interesting part about it is that from time to time, he would help the Sheriff Department and go on some of their assignments undercover. So yeah, undercover. So he was, being his size, you know, he wouldn't be spotted. He was pretty much unseen. So I found that pretty cool to be, you know, dispatcher and undercover agent, so to speak. He was a bouncer. Yes, he was a bouncer. He was a bouncer at the Orange Room at Wedgwood Lanes. And Wedgwood Lanes, it's a bowling alley, was a bowling alley in Austintown, Ohio. Now, if you don't know the area, Austintown, Ohio is just the next city over. Now, I don't know much about Wedgwood Lanes. As a kid growing up, I didn't go there much. I went out to Boardman. We would do Camelot Lanes, but so I'm not really familiar with it. I'm guessing the Orange Room was like a music venue area. Yeah, I don't remember it all at all. So if you remember the Orange Room, leave it in the comments, because I sure don't. But I think that was pretty cool. He was a bouncer, 2 foot 10 inches tall, and a bouncer in a wasn't a music hall, but it was a music venue, I'm assuming anyway. Okay, and here we go, and we'll keep talking more about him. Yeah, this is a nice cemetery, and I'll talk more about the cemetery when we get done talking about Mr. Bylan. Yeah, but a bouncer in the Orange Room in Austintown, Ohio, at Wedgwood Lanes. Now, Wedgwood Lanes is not there any longer. Okay, the building's there, but Wedgwood Lanes itself is not. So now we're going to move to the year 1979. In 1979, he was at a convention. I believe it was in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. He was at a convention for the Little People of America, which he was director of at one time. Now, while at this convention, there were a couple scouts there, and that is where he caught the eye of a movie producer and director. They wanted him to audition for a part in their movie. He auditioned, and he got the part. Out of 400 little people for the movie, he was one of the 150 that were chosen. The role was for a movie called Under the Rainbow. Now, if you've never seen Under the Rainbow, I suggest you, if you get the chance, watch it at least one time. It's a weird movie, you know, but I think you at least got to see it one time. The whole storyline of this movie was when they were filming Wizard of Oz. We all know that the cast of Wizard of Oz were a lot of little people in that movie. So the story is about the hotel that the little people were staying in the chaos that was happening in a hotel. Under the Rainbow. Now he was acting right next to some pretty big names. Chevy Chase and Carrie Fisher, which once said, Carrie Fisher once said that this was the worst movie she ever starred in. So if that tells you anything about the movie, but I think you need to see it at least one time. But yeah, you got, check it out. It's a weird movie. It's a weird movie. Now let's go to the year 1981. 1981, he was at another convention. I'm not sure exactly where, but he was out west somewhere. Okay. Now he did catch the eye of another filmmaker, producer, which would have been Steven Spielberg. Steven Spielberg wanted him to audition for a movie that he was making, and because they already had a suit for this movie, so they were looking for someone to fit this suit. He auditioned. I think it was on a Thursday. He flew back to Youngstown, and by Friday he realized, and he was told, that he got the part for the movie. That movie would have been E.T. the Extra-Terrestrial. And that is what I meant when I said he made a big impact on the world. E.T. was one of the biggest movies in the world at that time, and I believe it still is one of the biggest movies of all time. But he played E.T. the Extra-Terrestrial. Now, there were two other little people that helped with E.T. But whenever you've seen E.T. walking around and stuff, that was Michael Patrick Bylan. Now, I didn't mention in the movie Under the Rainbow, he got a nickname while he was in that movie, and that was Little Pat. So if I used Little Pat, that's where that came from. But there was actually 4 ETs. One was the suit that he wore, and the other 3 were more animatronic. Like one might have operated the neck, one might have did the arm thing, whatever. I guess the suit weighed almost as much as him. He weighed 45 pounds, and his suit weighed 40 pounds, I believe. There's a couple others. I seen 50 and 45, but more of my research says that he weighed 45 and his suit weighed 40. So that's pretty cool. That someone of that stature, I mean, he did more than E.T., but buried right here in Youngstown, Ohio. So still in 1983, we can go, and I didn't want to mention this earlier, but in 1983, him and his father, they went to New Jersey to visit some friends. And while on that trip, on their way back, I guess they stopped at the Ukrainian press paper, Writing Works, and they wanted to give some thanks for some of the good writings they did on little Pat and such. Now, they even brought these little Ukrainian figurines, and this is why I didn't mention this before. The family actually had a little business going on. It was Ukrainian arts, Ukrainian fine arts, Petrusha's Ukrainian arts is what it was called. And they had this business on the patio of their home. And the only reason I did not mention that is because that business that they had, some of the money was funded by Little Pat's movies. So I just didn't want to blow any information or get ahead of myself by saying that. But yeah, so far a pretty amazing life going on for him. Now, still in the year 1983, this is where it kind of takes a turn. Now we're getting to the end of his career and his life. 1983, later on in that year, he was fighting pneumonia, and he did end up going to St. E's Hospital, which is St. Elizabeth's Hospital, and that's downtown Youngstown. And he ended up passing away the very next day he was admitted into the hospital, and he passed away from a blood infection. So that was a little bit about Michael Patrick Bylan. You know, we could talk more about him because he did actually a lot more. He filmed in some, or he but he was in some commercials and some local plays and stuff like that. He was a tap dancer and such. But that was the basis of his life. That's the basic information of his life. But now we kind of want to know what cemetery we're in. You want to visit him. Now that you know kind of his story, where do we need to go to see his gravesite? Well, we are in Calvary Cemetery. Now, the gates to get into the cemetery are on the corner of Bell Vista and Mahoning Avenue. This is 150 acres, I believe. It's one of the oldest and largest cemeteries in the Tri-County area. Now, this was established in 1885. And I'll throw some facts out there, some interesting facts for you. There is people buried here that are of a much older time period than 1885, because there were two cemeteries back earlier when this was established. There was two other cemeteries that were actually moved here. So again, there will be graves and dates that are much older than 1885. The two cemeteries that were moved here were Rose Hill Cemetery and St. Joseph Church Cemetery. So we got to learn a little bit about little Pat, Michael Patrick Bylan. Now you know what cemetery we're in, because Youngstown has quite a few old cemeteries, local cemeteries. But we need to know how to get to his actual gravesite. Let me show you. Now, when you get into the cemetery, you are going to want to drive all the way to the back, and I'm going to give you some landmarks to look for. But the first thing you want to do is you want to find section 46. That's what you're going to want to find. And while we walk to the next landmark, let me tell you a little bit. I was going to, while doing this video, I was going to walk the whole cemetery, but it's large, so that's why I edited it the way I did. I actually, at the end of the video, I actually am going to do a drive-through. I will video a drive-through. That way you know exactly how to get to his actual gravesite. But I'll show you a landmark. When you come to the back of the cemetery, as you can see, you know, we're in the back corner. There's a chapel right there. You're gonna look for that chapel. So section 46 in the chapel. Now, you might see the chapel before you see the sign. But let me show you, because I'm gonna show you the exact spot that you're gonna go when you come here to visit. There's the chapel, okay? Looking at the chapel right there. This is where we're gonna be going. I believe he is the 9th row back. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This should be 8. And this will be 9 rows back. Like I said, on the other side of these bushes is the chapel. There's the road. You count 9 rows back and you will be at Michael Patrick Bylan gravesite. And he played E.T. the Extra-Terrestrial, and born 1947 and passed away in 1983, which is sad. You know, he beat the pneumonia and everything, but a blood infection is what ultimately got him, and his career was going. Another thing I didn't mention, there was actually to be an E.T. sequel, and he was ready to play that part, and that just didn't happen. But another thing you can do too, there should be a number, yeah, that 408. If you go to like a website on the cemetery website, you'll see this number, and you can look them up that way. But it's easier if you follow my directions. But yep, Michael Patrick Bylan. Over here will be his mother, Esther Bylan. And I don't know if there's a number on some of these. I don't know. It might just be overgrown. But there's Esther Bylan. And then here's his father, was a U.S. veteran, Michael Bylan. So he is buried between his mother and his father. Take a minute and say a prayer for them all. So yeah, I hope you found this interesting video. It has, you know, it has somebody local to Youngstown, somebody, you know, famous. He was in you know, movies and E.T. I think that's what people would come here for if you didn't know him personally. And I didn't, but I'm sure some of you that watched the video did. So if anybody's watching a video that knew him personally, leave some stuff in the comments about him. I think we would all like to know that. But yeah, very interesting story about him. And yeah, that's I think everybody would like to visit here, knowing that he played E.T., you know, the Extra-Terrestrial, because I think that's how everybody would know him. But they, like I said, they probably didn't even know his real name. So yeah, I'm gonna end the video here. Just remember, if you do come here to visit, just remember to show some respect, okay? And I'm sure you all will. But I want to thank everybody for coming on today's adventure. And don't forget to hit the like button and hit the subscribe button. Share the channel. Leave a comment. And again, I will be doing a drive-through so you know the exact point to come and visit Michael Bylan's gravesite. But yeah, like button, subscribe button, share the channel. And until I see you all on the next adventure, wherever that may be, Bad Malanga.